Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to House of Footy. It's your boy Ray, and with me, I got a full house. Welcome, Mac
Good evening.
and Gio.
What is good, guys?
The Premier League starts in just a few days, and with all our excitement leading up to it, we are going to give you guys our predictions for the 2023-2024 season. Before we get into it, don't forget to follow us on our social medias, which is at houseup_footy on both Twitter and Instagram. Also, don't forget to rate, review, and get in touch with us. We love hearing from you guys, and we want you guys getting involved. Our email is houseoffooty@hotmail.com. But yeah, let's get straight into it, boys. First part, of course, is got to be the top six predictions, and we're gonna take it a little bit of a different way this time around. We're gonna start from the bottom to the top. So we're gonna go sixth, fifth, fourth, third, second, and then of course champions. And I'm just gonna go first. My co-host Gio is gonna go next, and then Mac will go last, and then we'll just continue going that way. But let's dive straight into it. In sixth place, I have a team by the name of Brighton and Hove Albion. That might be a small surprise for you guys, but I like Brighton. Of course, a lot of changes happen in the offseason, but I'm very interested to see how now Zerbi has a full sort of summer window with this team. Some exciting players coming in, and I think he can definitely continue to implement his style of play. We've seen that in some of those preseason games where literally the two holding midfielders that he has are dropping in right at the top of the box, and then the two center backs are kind of on the edge of the byline, and then they're trying to just suck those players in from the opposition and then try to break them down that way. And they have the firepower moving forward. I think they have a couple of new signings up front who will add to, of course, Matoma and Josely Marches from last season, who will definitely be a team to watch. So I think they will be a standout team. Brighton is my pick for sixth place. Gio, who do you have for sixth place?
Well, I can tell you I don't have Brighton. Number six, I have the almighty Aston Villa. I think they themselves have also made strides in becoming a better squad. We've seen their, almost the potential last year, squeezing into, I believe, a Conference League spot. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So squeezing into a Conference League spot, and then signing, Yuri Tielemans. I think it brings them up to a whole nother level. And obviously, you kind of unite, Well, no, he does he does know what he wants to do with the squad. So I think, now that he has another full window under his belt, I think he knows what he wants to do with each player and how they're gonna squeeze out wins, against the top sides of the Premier League.
Okay, I like that shout. Mac, give us your sixth place team.
I absolutely hate Gio because that's the exact same team I went with, Aston Villa for sixth. I think, hot take, if you were to ask me right now who I would bet to win the Conference League, it would be Aston Villa, because with what Unai Emery does to the Europa League, he's going to be able to do the Conference League in his sleep. It's going to be nothing to him. This is regular, every midweek football. It's not going to matter. What they've done in terms of the transfer window, like you said, Yuri Tielemans, huge. They do get Diego Carlos back, who was out all of last season almost. It's kind of felt like a new signing. In addition, I think with Pau Torres coming in defensively, they're going to be sound. They're going to be very, very strong. So, and as well as under Unai Emery last year, I think they finished in with if you just look at from when he entered to the end of the season, they were a top four club. So if you just extrapolate that further for a full season, I know it's a little unfair. Let's give them, let's say he doesn't do just as well. Sixth place, I think, is a fair shout, as well as teams, I'm going to put it out there right now, I don't have in the top six, are both Tottenham and Brighton, who I think are just going to miss out because they're going to have Europa League competition. Maybe that's more of a focus for them. And Tottenham with Spurs, no one wants Spurs to do well, so why would I put them in my top six? So it is what it is.
There you go. Now you're talking.
I got you, Gio.
Hey, interesting, very interesting. I love the shouts that you guys have both for your sixth place team. But let's move on now to the fifth place team. And of course, I'm going to go first again. In fifth place for next season, I do have Newcastle United. Of course, they have Champions League next season. Finished very, very strongly. Had a great season last year all throughout. But I think with Champions League and with sort of now teams sort of figuring out how Newcastle will be. Definitely their home form will be the deciding factor on how well they do. But I think definitely with those extra commitments and then traveling away to teams around them that have strengthened, some of those big games that are between the top quote unquote top six and Newcastle, those might not go their way this season, and so they'll have a slight drop off. And I still think they will finish in the top six, but Newcastle for me will be fifth place in the upcoming season. Gio, who do you have in fifth?
Well, seems like it's our turn to match because I do too have Newcastle. Again, I think with the added competitions, with the pressure of Champions, I know it's not pressure because who expected Newcastle to be in the Champions League position, but they're gonna want to put all their marbles in there and kind of cement themselves a little. Let it be known why they're there, why they're back, and that they can dominate games. So they're gonna put a lot of focus there. Obviously, with the signing of Tonali, I think who is fantastic for them in the preseason. He has looked phenomenal, even tucking in a little more, dropping a little deeper. He's able to thread those passes, find those long balls. I think he's a fantastic signing. So, with all that being said, Gio, how come you don't put them higher? They bettered their squad already. It's it's hard to go up from there for a team like that. Consistency is a big thing. You saw the drop off in the latter half of the season for Newcastle as well. But yeah, I just think with the added competition of the Champions League, shorter weeks, it's going to take a toll. So yes, there are new signings, but it does add to their depth. So I think being in and around that 4, 5, 6 area is where they're going to sit very comfortably. If they're competing for the three and above, 4 and above, then they're obviously hitting on all cylinders.
Exactly, and you matched me, so nothing else for me to really say. Mac, what do you have in fifth?
Really wanted to pick Chelsea here. Before Nkunku got hurt, I was going to pick Chelsea as my fifth place team, but it looks like he's going to be out for several months, which I think is going to be a tough hit because I think between him and Jackson, what they could do offensively, as well as them having only Premier League football to worry about because they have nothing else to play for, literally nothing else because, they sucked last year. I just want to let that settle in for Chelsea fans. They sucked. I still have to go for Newcastle, so that's why it was my toss-up between those two. I was going to have one in 7th and one in 5th because I was pigeonholing Aston Villa in my top 6 no matter what. So for me, I think I would go Newcastle. I do think they have potential of any of the teams that I may talk about today to drop out and have quite a fall down the table. A couple different reasons. They're going to be most impacted by the rule change. In terms of wasting time, they were the best at it. There was one of the biggest driving factors, in my opinion, how well they played, only focusing on one kind of competition. And even though they only brought in Sandro Tonali, they don't have as much squad depth as everybody else around them. I would argue in a lot of ways, Aston Villa have deeper squad. They don't have, I say, the best same starting level of starting 11, but their squad is very, very thin. So if they get a couple injuries because of the overload of the fixture list, because now they can't waste as much time and catch rest in the middle of games because as they're trying to delay everything as much as possible, as well as they can't have both managers on the pitch yelling the whole time without receiving several yellow cards, it's going to be tough for them. I think they're going to be kind of under a microscope with these rule changes and be the most impacted. So I have them as 5th now, but I would not be surprised if they drop maybe to 8th even.
Ooh, hey, that sounds like coming from a.
I think that's their floor. Their ceiling is 5th. That's for me.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Then that means we're gonna now be discussing our top 4 teams, and this was a toss-up between 2 teams for me, but because I'm a fan, I'm gonna have to go for Manchester United in 4th. Of course, they had a pretty solid transfer window. Ten Hag getting some of the players that he needs, but still, I think, like we touched on when we did discuss Man U, they are a little bit maybe another transfer window and or a full season under Ten Hag to really challenge for the top 2 positions. And I think it's going to take a little bit of time for those signings to gel. And so I do have 3 other teams finishing above them for that reason mainly. But also, commitments elsewhere Champions League back in there as well. Gonna take a toll on that team, I think, and that's mainly the reason why I have them in fourth. What about you, Gio? Who do you have in fourth?
Uh, it's it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny how the world works. You picked my team to be fourth, and I picked your team to be fourth. I have Liverpool to be fourth, and uh, to be quite honest, very similar reasons that you have. I think the team still, they brought in a couple of new guys that need time to gel. Sabzalai, still can't say his name. But yeah, I think he's gonna need time to gel. Do you expect the Mo Salah to rejuvenate himself after this off season? Darwin's still a question mark. Cody Gakpo, yes, he was a risk. He was a great signing for that price. Does he turn it on, and does he really become that guy that you expected you signed after having such a great World Cup? And then, Darwin Nunez, question mark. Can he score? Can he put him away? Can he find that composure within himself to be that clinical guy? And then the defense, Konate didn't have a great season. Van Dijk didn't have a great season. Can they bounce back? And how will they find their confidence? I think is a key thing. And then when you talk about commitments, they're in Europa League. Do they really want to play in the Europa League? Does it really benefit them? Who knows? So who knows how much effort they'll put in, or should they even put in that much effort to begin with? If they are putting in all that effort, I think it's going to take away from the league, which I don't think Klopp likes to lose anyways. So yeah, it's a big toss-up with Liverpool, I think, as well. So that's why I have them at fourth.
Okay, I like that shout. Mac, who do you have in fourth?
I think you both know where I'm going with this. If I were to pick between either team who I'm going to kind of drop further down the table, we all know where it's going to happen here. It's going to be Manchester United finishing fourth. I think even though, and it kind of talked about in our preview podcast, is that this can still be a very successful fourth finish place team for Manchester United because of the evolution of the team, the next steps in terms of trying to play attractive, good football, playing on a front foot, being able to play with possession. That's not something they've done in years. I would argue even decades. Even a Fergie, that's not what he wanted to do. So this evolution of a different type of style of football is new for Manchester United. So I think they're going to be large growing pains. I understand it looks like Harry Maguire looks to be out the door, but I think he's not just the only kind of symbol of what Manchester United used to be in terms of style of play, where like a keeper with Onana playing at the back, I don't think everyone on that team is going to be comfortable day one of being able to do that. And we're 3 weeks away of every Manchester United fan. I think, what is the Trey Manu, whatever is the guy on Twitter? He's going to rant and complain about how Mason Mount hasn't got on the score sheet yet. It's already going to happen. So there are going to be so many trials and tribulations with this squad, as well as I think they're going to struggle to score. Last year, they scored 58 goals, which was the lowest inside the top six. I think they're going to have something very, very similar. And I don't think Rashford is going to play as well. So unless we have immediate hit from Højlund or Anthony Sancho take a large step forward, which I don't see that dramatic of a step where it's going to cover the gap of any drop off from Rashford, I think they're going to struggle in attacking sense. But I still think it could be viewed at from a fan's perspective. Hey, this is a step forward for a club because we're evolving. We're going to be better. And hopefully they could be sold.
Yay. First of all, shout out United Trade, an infamous Twitter account. But that leads me to my third place team next season, and that has to be, you guys just mentioned them, Manchester United. Sorry, Liverpool. Man U's my fourth place team. Exactly the reasons why Mac just mentioned. I think Man U may have some in terms of their performances will be a lot more consistent, but their, I think, goal scoring might not be as fluid as certain parts of last season, comparable to Liverpool. I think this season there's no excuse. One of the best front threes in the league, if not arguably the best. Goals, I think, are going to come by for this Liverpool team quite regularly. The question is how many they can keep on the back of their own net, which of course is the big question. especially with sort of no holding midfield going into the first game of the season. But that being said, I still think Liverpool, the highs will just bring them to the third place finish. And just because, again, Man U, I think, will have a more consistent team all around. They will have a strong finish, but I think Liverpool just edges them out this season. Gio, what do you think? Who do you think will finish third?
Here comes the hot takes, boys. Why not shoot a hot take? Who's to say it can't happen? With in third place, it's gonna be Manchester City. I just think it's gonna be a big drop off this year. I don't know what's telling me, but it's telling me it's gonna be a drop off this year. It's almost kind of written in those moments where Pep could have left on the highest note possible, win the treble, sail off in the sunset. Can he accomplish more? Yeah, back-to-back Champions League. I just don't see it with the squad depth. Maybe not until January will my mind change, unless he makes a signing to reinforce everything. But as of right now, I just don't see them competing in all these competitions, wanting these aspirations and winning. So he's gonna have to put out top guys to play in every competition to stay in those competitions. How else are you gonna top a treble? Win 4 trophies. By doing so, again, you're gonna have to play your top guys. So can those top guys last the entire season playing all these games? No, I do not believe so. And I've stressed before, all those guys that I mentioned in hopefully you guys have listened to our Man City podcast. Those guys, such as KDB, such as a Holland, such as Kyle Walker, those guys will get injured. It's almost written every year that they get injured, and they do get injured. So, during those times, they're going to drop points, I feel, and it's not going to be enough for them to catch up to teams with a little bit more depth, I find.
Okay, first hot take, I guess, of the podcast. Mac, what can you follow that up with?
It's nowhere near spicy. I'm just going to copy and paste, Ray, your answer with what I would put for Liverpool, finishing third. There is no difference there. High risk, high reward. I will say 2 things quickly about them. One, it's going to be a horrible season for their fans because you're going to have the highest highs and the lowest of lows, because you're going to be like, oh, we've scored 7 goals in a game. Hey, we've conceded 8. It is what it is. They're going to be the highs and lows of football. You're going to experience it more than any other fan, I feel like, this year from a Premier League team, because you're going to score bags of goals and you're going to see a lot of mistakes. So I think it all fits well, especially if they get Lavia over the line. They're going to have a young, exciting midfield. That will leak mistakes, and it is the nature of the business. But I think just because of Klopp's ability, I would argue, if you look at which manager does the most with least over the last 5, 6, 8 years, even in the Premier League, he's probably the best, even better than Pep, in terms of what he's able to bring out from kind of a certain level of team. So just by the institutional knowledge, what he brings, I think they're the safest bet for third, in my opinion. However, I do think this will be the season, because they're going to be, I feel like, pretty close to the title. I feel like the top 4 all in and around will be close to each other, much closer than last year. I think this will be the season where fans start to be very, very upset with how FSG have backed Klopp in the transfer window, because there is a window this season potentially for Liverpool to shoot back up and be in Premier League title contention if they just added a Chouameni, if they just added, were the ones to be able to get the Bellingham, if they were just adding that kind of golden prize at the top to surround everything else that they're doing, they would be in that position. But because of a lack of investment, for whatever reason, financial wise, they didn't do it. And that's the reason why that they will, in all likely, have their best reign probably in the club's history with only 1 Premier League title. So it's tough. So I think you'll be excited moving back up into the top 4. It'll be painful for the highs and lows, but looking back, it'll be like, crap, we could have had so much more if we just did a little bit more.
Okay, no, that's a great shout, and of course I had them as well, so I agree there. Now, moving on to our second place finished teams, I'm going to have to go with not Tottenham Hotspurs. Of course, their North London rivals, Arsenal. Arsenal were there last year, strengthened the team very well. Will definitely be pushing for the title this year. I do think they do have a chance to go as far as winning it, but I just think they are still a step off of it for my eventual winners. And so I do think they'll definitely be there, just a step off of it. myself. That's where I'll leave it at. Gio, who do you have in second?
Oh, hot take number two, boys. A team, I say fly under the radar, but how can a club this big fly under the radar? Manchester United is going to squeeze under the radar and squeeze in the second. I think a lot will surprise, and this might not be a football take. This might be a superstition take, but the fridge is out of the kitchen, and if he gets sold to West Ham, God bless West Ham. I that's why you're my favorite London squad. You just know what to do in our time of need. Bottle games against us, buy the fridge, the broken fridge in the basement. You've done it all. So once that's signed, sealed, and delivered, I think fans have a lot more to be happy about, and I think even team morale, just not having all that negativity around the squad, I think will do a lot of justice. I just think, yes, there are a lot of things that can go wrong, but I think with the consistency of those close matches that they shouldn't have lost, say last season, those extra points will bring them closer. And I talked about the points that Man City will lose in those times of injuries and those rough periods of their season. So I think the difference is that Man U can they know where they went wrong early on in the season, and if they mitigate those mistakes, not as many points would have been lost. And I think by that, they slide under the radar. Well, they fly under the radar and can possibly squeeze in the second, God willing.
Ooh, so what we have here is Gio predicting that Man U will finish above Man City for the first time since Sir Alex Ferguson has retired. So big shout out there. Honestly, hey, Mac, what do you have?
I have Man City finishing second. I think I do have Man City finishing second. I think that, similar to what Gio said earlier, I don't think the drop off will be that much from them in terms of falling all the way to third. But like I said earlier, I think this top four is going to be much closer than it was last year. So there isn't going to be much separating them. I think Man City, though, they'll be in the position where they can look at, we've won 3 Premier Leagues in a row. 4 has never been won in a row in the history of the Premier League. So will they break history? I don't think that'll be their major focus. I think if they have to go all in the competition due to squad depth, they'll chase the second Champions League in a row. And I think they'll put all their eggs in that basket. And not have the capabilities to worry about like the week in, week out grind that the Premier League does offer, and more stakes will come from that area of that competition more so than others, because you're going to end up playing the most amount of games there, so you're going to have the most slippage, in my opinion, from this team. So I think just due to their priorities, the other teams around them getting better, I think there is going to be a drop off, and that'll slide them into second place.
Okay, that leaves us only with one position left, and that's of course champions, which by now I think listeners have guessed who we predict to be champions. And for me, it is just easy: Man City. If Pep's in charge there, and they have Holland and all the supporting cast, there's really nothing I would bet against for this team to accomplish. So you guys brought up great points. There could be parts in the season where they drop off, especially drawing similarities to what they did last year, but I think they have enough, and they will go on that run, that eventual run that Pep does go on with his team, and go 10, 12, 15 games unbeaten, and then they just take the league back to the reign. So that's why I have Man City as champions. Gio, who do you have as champions?
I think Mac will be happy to hear this. It's almighty Arsenal. I think we'll be back on top. I think obviously the pain of it being so close last year is a huge driving force for them to go out, get the players that they needed. They've addressed, back of the pitch, middle of the pitch, front of the pitch. I think they've addressed it quite well. They've gotten the reinforcements that I think will get them over the line. And even when we saw a Community Shield, we stressed, you've stressed, Ray, I don't think I've seen Man City without the ball for this long. The way Arsenal is able to play now that they have a Declan Rice and a Urian Timber has been, in plain sight based on that game. So I actually based a lot of my predictions off that game as well. I think they played very well. They held on to the ball very well, controlled the tempo early on, and kind of forced Man City's hand. Until Man City, in a way, and I think got very lucky to score that goal. And then Arsenal were able to close it out on pens, and with the rising success of Saka, I just think in terms of firepower up front, they're hard to compete against in the league. So with that being said, I think Arsenal kind of completed themselves in a way. Sure, they'll definitely be looking to add it at the window just to guarantee it, add that depth, and really secure the title this time.
Yeah, exactly. That makes sense. And that leads to Mac's champion prediction for the upcoming season. Mac?
Tottenham Hotspur. No, I'm just kidding. So again, Gio's on point there. It's with Arsenal, and I'll take a look. He looked at very much in terms of the team of how much they can improve. Let's just assume there's a Man City's drop off. They won the league by 5 points last year. Is the difference of Julian Timber, Declan Rice, and Kai Havertz, and potentially David Raya? It looks like there is a here we go there. Is that a 5 points difference going to be covered from those 4 players? Absolutely. Yeah. I think Declan Rice himself is easily worth more than just those 5 points. I think he's going to go down. It probably is like I said, being a transformative player for Arsenal, being a player that they've been looking for. I think he'll go down because of the season. He'll be in the conversation as one of the best DMs in the world, probably in the top 3 conversation by the end of this year with the impact that he'll have, as well as just the depth across the pitch. They are probably the deepest team in the Premier League. They can sustain the most amount of fluctuations. If Shevchenko's out, Julian Timber's there. If there's another injury, Saliba, who looks like a monster even more coming back this year, looks so much better. If he gets injured now and then, you still have Tomiyasu and Ben White be able to shift over. You don't have to go to Rob Holding. He can literally just be a practice player. That's when you have the depth required to be successful across multiple competitions. So I think even though I think they will have a great Champions League run, they can go deep in the cup competition. Unlike City, they'll be like, no, this is the competition we want. We want the Premier League. Everything extra is gravy. Even if they finish second, I think it's still a very successful season. But I think they'll go 100% all in on the Premier League for this season, more so than they've ever done. And they've built the squad to be able to do that. And like I said, still be competitive elsewhere. I still have more hot takes for this Arsenal team, and they'll come later, but they will be the champions.
All right, well, there you have it, boys. Our predictions for the top 6. A lot of hot takes there, but a lot of hot takes to come as well after the break, so stay with us, guys. Welcome back to House of Footy, guys. We are going to continue our preseason predictions for the Premier League, and now we're going to go with some different categories now. We're going to start off with our dark horse team to watch for this season. And for me, it's pretty standard. The team that I picked to finish 6th, it's going to be Brighton and Hove Albion. I do really like how they added to their team this year. Off our podcast, we did discuss, I really like how Aston Villa strengthened their team as well. But I do really think Brighton have a quality that is still something that hasn't been figured out by a lot of teams. And I feel like they have the capability to make that push. And I'm just rooting for sort of a team that's never really been there to really take storm and really stake a claim in the top 6 for themselves, and hopefully are able to strengthen even if they lose players, of course, your Caicedos and maybe Matoma later on, to maybe have a new team sort of in the mix for those European positions in the future. So that's my dark horse team. Gio, who do you have for your dark horse team this season?
I hate to be like you, but my dark horse team was the team I picked for 6th, Aston Villa. Look, I have so much high hopes for them. Obviously, Unai Emery, great coach, has done it in the Prem, done it in La Liga. Again, with the key additions, Pau Torres, and Yuri Tielemans. I think it's just for him, like at his disposal. I think it's just very dangerous, and I think the rest of the league is going to sleep on them. And as they shouldn't. But I have them as my dark horse team.
Okay, Mac.
So I could pick Aston Villa because I think that they could definitely do better than expectations, but I'm going to go a little bit further into the bag, similar, and have a little bit of separation from Gio finally. Even though I like that we're on the same wavelength, but it feels like something's wrong with the world. We need to fix this.
Surprising.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take Burnley. I think they finish inside the top top 12 comfortably, maybe even the top 10. The reason being, they had a great transfer window. I love the fact that they pillaged Sheffield United's best player, Sander Berg, from last year. Beautiful, love it. You just gotta feed the beast. Vincent Kompany, I think he has the potential to come in and be a great manager in the Premier League, and I wouldn't be surprised if, I know that Ray really wants Arteta to be the heir apparent at Man City or something like that. Just take him from Arsenal. Don't do that, please don't do that. But Kompany could be that guy, and I think having a great season here is going to put him in a position to be able to make that transition. As well as last year in the championship, they had over 100 points, phenomenal season, playing great football. So I think they're going to be a team that the neutral will want to cheer for. So I'm going to buy into that. I'm going to enjoy that revelry and have them and will them into existence of being my dark horse team and finishing hopefully inside the top 10. But I would not be surprised if they're in the top 12 next year. They're better than Chelsea was last year right now.
Ooh, great shout, great shout. We'll definitely have to see what happens with that. Okay, moving on to our next category, notable, crazy, yet to happen next year. My prediction is quite simple. As we all know, there is a kind of a rule change with the added time. And of course, there's going to be a lot more injury time added to both ends of the halves. And it's going to create a lot of drama going forward. And you guys know me. I'm a guy that loves the drama in football. And I think that this season we're going to get a game that has more than 3 goals after the 90-minute mark. So we're going to have one game
That's fun.
that has more than 3 goals after the 90-minute mark, because there's going to be at least 10, 12, 15 minutes added to those to the end of the game based on sort of the new rules that they're implementing. And so, hey, I can see it happening. Crazy prediction you might say, but I'm all for it, and I think that rule is, I guess, overdue with sort of the time wasting that we're seeing across the pitch. So yeah, that's my prediction.
I think it makes sense, especially because you're watching a lot of those Liverpool games, and odds are if that's going to happen, it's going to be for a Liverpool game. Let's be real here. And it could be all 3 goals against them. It could be all 3 goals for them. It could be any permutation, really. So I love that pick. I love that pick.
Ain't mad at that.
Exactly.
Kind of piggybacking off the added time thing. I think this year in the Premier League, for my notable mad-ish take, is that this year is going to be the most cards issued in one season. We say it's going to be more added time, but there's going to be even more shithousery from these players. Granted, my take is that they're going to get a lot more cards. More cards are going to be dealt. There's going to be a lot more suspensions this year due to card accumulation. So keep that in mind, folks. Whoever typically is picking up cards for you in your fantasy, they might be sitting out. So keep that in mind. But yeah, there's going to be an astronomical amount of cards being handed out this year. And it's going to be the top and the most cards ever handed out in one singular Premier League season. So that's my mad shit.
Okay, I love that pick as well. Someone who loves cards, never betting, of course, but loves to see that. Mac, what's your prediction?
So I don't know if this is mad, but please let me know if this is too soft of a take or I'm just way off left field here. I'm going to go someone that has something that we're going to be talking about shortly in a bit. He actually has the odds on for the 8th most secure job in the Premier League. I'm going to take with Eddie Howe being sacked this year. Reason being is because I think they're going to struggle in the Champions League. They not struggle in terms of not perform well, but I think because of the added pressure of playing in the Champions League, it's going to have a negative effect, as well as mentioned earlier in terms of the rules changes, as well as their expectations. I think now a lot of the fans, the ownership have the expectation, oh, we're a top 4 team. This is where we are. They haven't invested to that level, in my opinion. I think they have made great, smart adjustments, but I think if they end up having a poor start to the season and don't finish and don't look like potentially being in a top 4 position for long stretches, he could be shown out the door. I don't want it to happen. I think he's a great manager. I think they did a steal by getting him, but I think if there is a world, there is a parallel universe, there is a multiverse where Eddie Howe gets fired because Newcastle do not start off well. So that's my mad-ish for this year.
Okay, I love that. I love that. Again, more hot takes to come. And I'm here all for it. Next category is relegated teams. Um, I'm gonna have to unfortunately go with two teams that have just come up, and those teams are gonna be Luton Town and Sheffield United. I just don't think they have the quality per se
Pause.
for the Premier League.
I just want to jump in there. I have the exact same two. Those two are gone for sure. Gio, my assumption is you have those two in your bottom three as well. Is that incorrect or is that correct? Because then we can just discuss the last one going to be going down. Really, because I think
that is actually.
Is that fair?
That's incorrect. No.
Oh, I apologize. Never mind. I apologize. I thought I was cooking something there. Continue going, Ray. I'm sorry.
No, that's all. That's all I have to say for them. The last team that I have as a relegated team is Everton. Don't really see them improving from last year. They were always sort of down there, and I think this is just the year where, again, very similar to a lot of teams that we're talking about. They're strengthening in and around them, and they just haven't strengthened enough. I think they signed Dan Yuma and gave him the number 10, if I'm not mistaken. Someone who'd never cut it at Spurs last year with their turmoil. Yeah, that's got to be the team that gets relegated. So, pretty simple for me. What do you guys think, Gio?
No, because you mentioned Dan Newman, and I'm like, he played for Spurs. It's not,
Oh, when you leave Spurs, your life gets better, no? In Double A?
It gets better, but all the bad habits you picked up from there,
he poisons the water at
yeah, exactly.
I got you.
Okay, so much like Ray, I do have Luton Town, but the other two that do not include Sheffield United are, like Ray, Everton, and lastly, Wolves. Wolves are gone. Wolves are so. They are. If you thought Chelsea was in shambles, they are pretty much pitiful at this moment. Losing Lopetegui, obviously, they tried really hard to bring in Lopetegui. Now losing him because he doesn't want to really manage there anymore. Not really having much of a window. Losing, your striker of a very long time. They just haven't proven themselves worthy of being in the Premier League. You have a couple of players here and there, but just not enough to compete, especially at the Prem level. So yeah, that being said, I have Wolves as exiting the Premier League.
Okay. Great hot take again. Mac, I know you gave us a face there. What do you think will be the three teams relegated, apart from, of course?
Star favorite, Luton, Sheffield. It was nice seeing you. Enjoy the parachute payments. You may come back up later, but you're not staying. It was nice knowing you, not for a long time, but yeah, it was a good time. No shot. I don't think there's any scenario, in my opinion, where either of the teams stay up. The third team, I'm going to pick the exact same team as Gio. I think it's Wolves. I think for me, they haven't invested in the squad. All their new signings were just really confirmations of loans that they had last year. They've lost Coutinho's ancient. I think he's even older than me, which is scary. Ruben Neves is gone to play in a kind of a for fun league. I don't know. It's just there's I don't understand what they're doing or why they're doing what they're doing. None of it makes sense to me. They have invested in the squad, and Lopetegui was an absolute steal to get in the first place. So whatever he's doing last year to save you from relegation, because prior to coming in, that's where they were. You let him cook. You let him do his thing. He knows what he's doing. An experienced manager. So if you come across and be like, you know what? He's having bad ideas. We don't want to be able to do what he wants to do, so he's going to leave. Who do I have more faith to be able to leave? Wolves or Lopetegui? I pick Lopetegui every day of the week. So for me, I think Wolves are going down. But I again, so that's my bottom three for sure.
Okay. Hey, great shout again. Something that I never really thought about, but great points you guys brought up. That leaves us to our last sort of category for this segment. First manager to get sacked. I'm gonna go first. It's gonna be one of the teams that are relegated, but I don't think it's gonna be Everton. I just think that they're gonna just stick it out with, I believe, Sean Dyche there. Regardless how he does, I just think they're just a team that won't really make changes until it's kind of too late. Luton, I think they're gonna be down there as well. But because they're sort of a fairy tale story of them coming up, I think they're gonna stick with their manager and they just here to enjoy the season. And that, of course, leaves Sheffield United, team that was in the Premier League fairly recently, and the additions that they've had, I don't think are sufficient. Like Mac mentioned, they lost one of their best players as well just recently to Burnley, and so their manager Paul Heckingbottom, I'm sorry to say, he will be the first manager to get sacked. Gio, who do you think will get sacked first?
Okay, hot take. Fulham aren't going to have a hot start, and he had an opportunity to leave in the offseason, but he couldn't. But he decided not to leave. Fulham's manager is going to get sacked first, and then he's inevitably going to sign in the Saudi league. It wasn't gonna. It didn't happen earlier, but it will happen. Yeah, I don't think they're going to get off to the start that they're kind of expecting. They finished in a pretty good spot last year, but I just don't think expectations will match reality. I don't think they've had the greatest window either. Not a loud window. Not anything to write home about. So yeah, I think the Fulham manager is going to get sacked first, and that's it.
Ooh, great,
Or
great,
Marco Silva.
great hot take there.
Yeah.
Mac, what do you have as the first manager to get sacked?
Frank Lampard. Am I still allowed to pick him? That's who I want to pick. If he had a job, wherever it is, I would pick him for sure.
Wolves.
So if he did get that job, he would be gone in a second. It would be beautiful. But it's Gary O'Neill, I think, going in. And I think they'll give him a little bit of time to start off. So I think there's two choices here for me. For the sake of parity and separation between us, I was originally coming into this podcast thinking of picking Neville Longbottom's cousin, the Peckingbottom dude from Sheffield United, because he's Heckingbottom, sorry, because he's in all likelihood in the toughest position. He's already come up from the club saying that he's not happy with what Sheffield United have done in regards to Henderberg. So similar to, I feel like what Scott Parker was doing at the beginning of last season, I think he's very much seeing and feeling that roadmap. Be like, hey, I can still maybe get on a high considering I brought this club up. So I really do want to pick him. But like I said, for the sake of parity, I'm going to pick David Moyes. He is technically the odds-on favorite right now. And it might be by mutual termination because, again, if they're bringing in Maguire and they haven't done anything else, and if the additions of losing Declan Rice bring in Maguire and McTominay, that's not a great squad. It's definitely a David Moyes squad. But I don't know if that'll be entertaining to watch, as well as I think he has enough cachet. If in the first three he's not happy, maybe he's even the one that has to walk away potentially. So it may not just be a sacking, it may be by mutual agreement to leave. So if I couldn't pick Heckingbottom, I'm going to go Moyes.
Did they secure James Ward-Prowse yet?
No, he's done. They backed away from the transfer.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Is that the most recent report? They backed away from the transfer.
I could have read something saying that was back on, but I'm not sure. Alongside
deal.
Maybe
talks were back on. Back on. So
yeah, so I guess bringing in Ward-Prowse, but also losing Scamacca, which really didn't do much for you last season, anyways. Yeah. I don't think. That could be very interesting, actually.
And of course, we talked about it. I think it would have been nice for him to finish off the season with West Ham and leave. This going into the season, the way it's gone, yeah, I can definitely see him going.
I'm going to change my answer then. If James Ward-Prowse does go, that leaves me a little bit scared because he's actually a quality footballer. I'm going to go back to Heckingbottom again. I'm sorry. I'm going to backtrack. We're going to edit this out where this never happened. I love David Moyes. David Moyes is going to be the West Ham manager for the rest of his life as long as he wants it. Congrats to him. Let's go with Heckingbottom.
Okay, well that wraps up this part of our hot takes so far. We'll take one last break, and we'll be, of course, predicting our individual awards winners for next season. So stay with us. Welcome back to House of Footy, guys. We are going to finish off our preseason predictions with our individual awards winners, and we're going to start off with top goal scorer for the upcoming season. I'm going to go first. Pretty standard here. Erling Haaland. He kind of took his foot off the gas towards the end of the last season because he's going to break his own record this season. So that's my pick. Locked it in. Erling Haaland for top goal scorer. Gio, what do you think?
That would be the easy answer to pick Erling Haaland. But I do predict injuries. I do predict a slump. Sophomore slumps are very common in basketball, but let's see how common it is in football. And I'm gonna go with an even safer answer because if Haaland didn't exist, this guy would have been a very fine goal scorer himself, and that guy is Harry Kane. there's 3 guarantees in life. Death, taxes, and Harry Kane will score for Tottenham. It's just the other people around him aren't gonna do jack shit. So yeah, I think it's a pretty safe pick. So I'll go with Harry Kane.
I'm surprised you're not picking the remix, kind of the fake version, the what would be the counterfeit version of Holland with Hoyland. I thought that 100% Gio you're going to go there. I'm sorry. But for me, I'm going to stick with Ray. It's Erling Haaland. He had 36 goals last year. Does he hit 40? That's the real question. It's not by him winning. It's by how much he wins and if he can break his own record. That's the only questions I have. Next.
Okay. All right. Most assists. This one was, I think, pretty easy to call last year. I think Kevin De Bruyne killed it, but I do predict a little drop off from him, and so I have changed it to an Arsenal player, and it's not the player that you guys are thinking. It's actually going to be Bukayo Saka. He was, of course, one of the leading assist providers for Arsenal last year. A lot of eyes are going to be on him, double teaming, triple teaming, so he's going to be squaring a lot of those balls and chances to, of course, your Odegaards, your Jesus, your Martinelli. Even Havertz might get a couple of chances from Saka drawing double team. So Saka is going to be my... be that as may, Saka will be the main creator and the most assist winner for me. So what do you think, Gio?
With that being said, I'm going to pick someone from Mac's most hated team and one of Mac's most hated players on that team, that being Bruno Fernandes. I think he's going to have a great time assisting his new comrades and compatriots. So, yeah, I'm going to go Bruno, the new captain. We believe in him. Go team.
No.
Hey,
Good. I really hope it doesn't happen. So I'm going to go with Ray. I'm picking Saka again. I think that similar to Ray, he's probably, aside from him and Odegaard, I would argue in terms of a front five, they have the most locked in position where they're going to play the most amount of minutes for the team. There is the Fabio Vieira option for Odegaard, so he may get a little bit more rest on occasion in the Premier League. Whereas Saka doesn't have as much natural depth right behind him, so he's going to be and is the first name on the team sheet, in my opinion, which will give him the most opportunities to rack up those assists. And I don't think there is going to be a single focal point from assists from KDB this year as much. I actually think if you were to ask me who to lead Man City in assists, weirdly enough, I might pick Foden this year. I think it might be an underdog pick, because if they're going to do well, if they're going to score a lot of goals, I think he has to be important. So I would have actually picked him out of anybody in Man City, because again, I think there is going to be a drop off from KDB this year. With that being said, like I said, reconfirm, Saka it is. Star boy.
Okay. I like that pick because it matches mine. I'm not sure if this next pick will match yours, but for most clean sheets, I have Man City's Ederson. Man City strengthened in terms of defense, and they're going to hold at least 60% possession most games. So Ederson's not going to face a lot of shots. It's a matter of he can keep those few shots out of the net. Most likely can. So Ederson is my pick for most clean sheets. Gio, who do you think will have the most clean sheets?
How many starts does it need to be qualified for most clean sheets?
You're not picking Ramsdale yet. Don't do this, brother. Don't do this again. Okay,
what? He was close. It was a good shout last year. It was a great shout last year.
Listen, we're not doing this again.
Because I was asking because I actually wanted to pick the new Arsenal keeper.
You want to pick Raya?
Oh.
Yeah, but that's why I'm asking what qualifies.
But the question is he going to start enough games to get enough clean sheets to have more clean sheets than everybody else? That's the thing. So I don't know if that's going to negate your argument. But
I think it doesn't matter if I can't pick him. I'm picking the Arsenal keepers. I'm picking Aaron Ramsdale. Did well for me last year. It was a great pick. Solid line. Got deeper back there. Ramsdale, although he likes to play off the line a little and, does have those chip opportunities, not too really worried about that. He has come up clutch for them countless of times last year, making big saves. So I'll go with Ramsdale.
Okay, Mac, who do you have?
I have Ederson as well. I agree with you, Ray. I think City have strengthened defensively. If they're going to do well this year, I think more less so than previous years, their defense has to be the best. It's having the best defensive record last year already. If anything, I think they're better there. So I think Ederson will be as safe as ever.
Okay, yeah, pretty standard there. And now moving on to yellow cards. Most yellow cards for me is not going to be who we all think for Man United. It's actually going to be a Fulham player. João Palhinha did get a lot of yellow cards last year, and this guy, to put it lightly, just enjoys a tackle, and I do expect him to improve upon his return for yellow cards, and so I think he's going to actually get the most yellow cards this year. João Palhinha from Fulham, which might be on brand with Gio's prediction of Marco Silva getting sacked. So, yeah, that's going to be my team. Sorry, my pick for yellow cards. Gio, who do you have?
Easy. Casemiro. Based on what I saw last year, this guy is not. It ain't La Liga no more, buddy. But he doesn't get that, so he's going to continue racking up yellow cards. Serve suspensions for his card accumulation. What else is new? But yeah, I pick Casemiro.
Simple enough. Mac?
I'm going to go with a player that I feel like it's going to have a little bit more pressure on this season. It wasn't too far off. He had 10 yellow cards last year. I'm going to go with Moises Caicedo with Brighton. He's definitely a player that likes to get into a tackle. Even if he were to transfer over to Chelsea, don't see much difference there. He's a player that has to stick his foot in for a lot of, I guess, progressive passing, a team that's trying to play a lot of high pressure. And if they make a mistake, he's always been in the position to, I have to take down the foul to prevent the transition. And unfortunately, the press isn't as strong as some other the top teams, which is why he's had to do that at Brighton. So I think very much this year he could be in a similar position. And even if he does leave over to Chelsea, he's going to be in the same position again. So I think he's still going to rack up a lot of yellow cards.
Perfect. And I love that it works out for multiple teams if he does make that move. So a lot of eyes will be on that. Moving on to our second last category, most red cards. For me, very similar approach to last year. I'm going to pick it from a team that I think will get relegated. Last year I picked Fulham to get a Fulham player. That, of course, didn't happen, but I'm very confident in Sheffield getting relegated. So I'm going to go with one of their center backs, going by the name of John Egan. I believe he had a red card last season. I don't think they strengthened enough in that position, and they're going to be under a lot of pressure. So that's going to be my pick for most red cards this season. Gio, who do you have?
Just like same guy, Casemiro. I think he's gonna do it for the team this year. I think he's gonna take home both. He just it's the South American that flair he has to him. Just doesn't get it. Doesn't get it that he just somebody needs to show him the badges that's on his jersey, Premier League and La Liga, and scratch out La Liga. He needs to understand that they do not play games here, and you do not have financial backing like that for the referees.
Easy shout. Mac, who do you think will have the most red cards?
I'm in agreement with Gio. It's Casemiro. I would have picked him for yellow cards, but he's not going to play enough games because he's going to have too many red cards. He's a year slower from last year, and Eriksen is not playing beside him, and Mount is definitely more adventurous. So Casemiro is going to be a little bit more of an island, in my opinion, as well as they're trying to play out from the back. If there is a mistake, he's the one that's going to stick his foot in and try to break someone's leg. So I think Casemiro is the safest option. So I'm going to go.
Fair shout.
Okay, so that leaves us with our last category, which is player of the season. I have a feeling Mac and I are going to have the same player here. I think this player should have won it last year if Arsenal did win the Premier League. He's going to continue to have another great season, and that's, of course, the Arsenal star boy, Bukayo Saka. Simple enough. Gio, who do you have as player of the season?
I actually have an Arsenal player, but not quite the same Arsenal player that Mac picked last year, because I am a believer now, and that is Martin Odegaard. I think, like I said to you guys off camera, I think he has so much more freedom this year, which allows him to sort of show his quality in terms of passing and scoring and shooting. And with that being said, and I do strongly believe that they can very much so win the Premier League. And when they do, Martin Odegaard will be presented with the Player of the Year as well.
When they do. All right, that leaves Mac with, I guess, a choice between two players, because I think we both mentioned the players that he would have chosen. Who are you going to go with, Mac?
Boys,
It's
this is
Jorginho.
beautiful. This is beautiful. Can we hug it out on the podcast? We've gone full circle. Instead of House of Footy, we could be House of Gunners. Like, this would be beautiful. Guys. Gio picking Odegaard. Say, Gio, can you do me a favor? Can you say thank you, Madrid, for Odegaard as an Arsenal fan for me? Can you thank you? Appreciate you for giving us for the same amount of money that West Ham are going to pay for Maguire. Come on. It's beautiful.
As a Madrid fan, I'm going to have to say, fuck you.
It's beautiful. But again, it's the toss up between the boys. You know, which one would you take? Again, for me, Arsenal are winning the Premier League this year. By that logic, it's probably going to be an Arsenal player. I think Haaland is dangerous because if he does get 40 goals, even if they finish second, there is a shout for him to get it. But because I feel like if he even gets, let's say, for example, he gets 35, which is one low below what he gets last year, the hype is down. They built him up. Now they're going to slowly tear him down and kind of ruin him as a player in the Premier League. That's just the highs and lows of whatever happens to any star player. So I think it's going to be, as Ray mentioned earlier, Starboy Saka. I think because he is probably the most emblematic player of Arsenal transition from a team they were 4 or 5, 6 years ago to a team where they are now. And I think this season, he's going to be in the conversation as one of the best wingers in the world and arguably the best English player in the world by the end of the season with the qualities that he have, with the character that he brings. I think everything that surrounds him. And come on, you just see him smile and makes you feel happy. So why would you not give him the award? Come on. It's the star boy.
Exactly. That makes it easy for us. I hope you guys enjoyed our some hot takes and some not so hot takes, and definitely we are excited to see what next season holds for us. So this concludes our podcast for today. If you like what you heard, please like and subscribe to us on our social medias. That's at @house_of_footy. If you have any comments, suggestions, or general banter, get in touch with us via email as well, houseoffooty@hotmail.com. The next time you'll hear from us will be Monday, when we, of course, review the first weekend of the Premier League. Thank you, Mac, for joining us.
We're back, boys!
Thank you, Gio.
Peace out, guys.
See you guys soon.